Hello there, good evening to you. Welcome. You're watching GHOne Television, and this is State of Affairs. And this evening on State of Affairs, we want to have a conversation with one of the individuals vying for the highest office of the land. His name will be on the ballot for the 2024 general elections as an independent candidate. It will not be the first time that he has attempted to lead the good people of Ghana, and he believes that he's the best man to do the job, and so he wants you to give him your vote. I'll introduce him to you, but before we get there, can you believe that it's been 15 years since Momo was launched in Ghana? And that's why the Momo at 15 rewards, it's here with amazing cash prizes just to say thank you. So send money on an MTN Momo or to an MTN Momo user, make payments to an MTN Momo merchant at no cost whatsoever, only on MTN, and you download the My Momo app on your phone, keep on transacting, and win some cash. There is up to 450,000 Ghana cedis, which is up for grabs, for 165 lucky winners, and you can be one of them. So just Momo it everywhere you go. This offer runs from now till November. Do remember the terms and conditions apply. MTN is everywhere you go. Let's get to our conversation in the studio this evening here on State of Affairs. And ladies and gentlemen, my guest in the studio this evening is none other than Kofi Koranteng. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. How you been?
I've been okay. How have you been? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I've been well. Been well, taking it in. Yes, and disappointed.
Disappointed, you say?
Of course, disappointed, as I'm sure you are too, being Ghanaian, unless, of course, you've chosen to ignore everything that's going on. But if you haven't, then you know what's going on. Galamsey rings a bell? Rings a bell. Okay, so then enough said.
Well, we're happy that you've joined us in the studio this evening. And you are the Democracy Hub protest, the second time Democracy Hub is doing a protest. You were there. We saw you in videos there, holding hands, moving around, with the protesters. Why were you there?
Why wouldn't I be there? I'm Ghanaian, a very concerned citizen. And if any citizen is paying attention, then they should have been at the protest. Simple as that. Unless, of course, you were not paying attention. But if you understand the levels of degradation Galamsey has caused to our lands, they've purified our water to a point where it can't be drunk any longer. It's killing us. We spend billions just to raise our children and put them through what we call free senior high school. Remember that? We spend billions. And then we spend billions to kill them. Make sense to you? That's why I showed up, because I'm outraged. And so should everybody in Ghana be outraged that we have allowed Galamsey to decimate our lands and poison our waters to a point where I would say in the next 5-10 years, maybe half of the country is going to be from water that we're drinking, foods, tubers that we eat. We're all going to have some levels of cancer in our system or neurological problems associated to toxicity. Because the levels are, I don't know how we have stayed along this long. It's radiation levels. It's ridiculous. So it's for everybody to be concerned. We need to stop this nonsense. It's absolutely ludicrous. It doesn't make any kind of sense. And you know what's worse? We're not even benefiting from the money that's coming from Galamsey. It's going to Switzerland, it's going to South Africa, it's going to the souks of Dubai, and not Ghana. Look at our streets. It looks like we're getting all that money from Galamsey. Does it look like it to you? You live here? You come, okay, so you saw that, right? It's ridiculous.
But the government says they're taking some steps to deal.
Taking some steps,
with
8
the
years?
Galamsey. I'm pretty sure you've heard the Minister for Lantam Natural Resources talk about all the things that have been done.
Nonsense.
I mean, how is that nonsense? I mean,
it's nonsense because we work. Listen, the way you evaluate the effectiveness of anything is through the lens of results. Do you see results? Do you see results? Simple question. Do you see results? It doesn't mean a thing if you have done all it takes and you can't get the results. Then you're not cut out for the job.
How about recently the committee that was set up by the
Nonsense.
president?
It doesn't mean anything.
To look at the fight. They've met with organized labor who are asking for a moratorium on all small-scale mining activities and all of that stuff.
As black people, we like stuff. We're excited by the presence of stuff and process. Stuff and process don't give you results if it's ineffective. So what if you have 20 million committees? We're still being poisoned. So what good is it? So you're not good for the job. Get out of here.
Who should get out of here?
President and everybody that came with him. All the 100 million ministers that came with him. The whole leadership should be fired. What is so... You're looking at me like, oh, you made us... How do you expect to fix this problem? Are you not bothered? You are? Seriously? Okay. Because if you are bothered and you understand what's going on, then we need to understand as a country, our children are dying. Our mothers are being killed. They're having babies, first of all, on the floor. And then if you make it through having an experience with the floor when you have the baby is got 3 hands, has a nose coming out of the ear, has a mouth popping out the nose. Well, come on, what is that? And it doesn't bother anybody because you could drive around in a $160,000 SUV and sit in your bungalow and get paid and go to Dubai when you're sick, or the US. It doesn't seem to bother anybody. Go to Circle. Have you been to Circle lately? Look at Circle, man. When I get to Circle, I cry because I'm like, this is the lowest of the human spectrum that anybody could get. Look at the filth, the people, the druggies, the hippies. I mean, it's unbelievable. And this is the same place that we paid $260 million for. Dollars, by the way, dollars. $260 million. Dodona is breathing wild. It's like a world's swimming pool of filth. We paid $260 million for it.
So you're talking about the problems that we face. You talk about Galamsey, for which reason you joined the protest. They are protesting because they want something to be done. What do you want to see? Obviously, we're looking for solutions to the problem, which obviously has not been solved because we are, we are at a very critical point. Organized labor is calling for a complete state of emergency to be called. There are others who are advocating for there to be a total ban on all kinds of small-scale mining. Where do you stand with regard to some of those demands?
Okay, so a couple of things. How do I put it? Doing more of what doesn't work doesn't make it work. If you don't know how to do something, giving you more to do more of that which doesn't work cannot make it work. So we have a leadership that's caught up in thinking that more of something will maybe someday get the result. That's not how it works. Everything is science-based. Everything that has process has a science behind it. So if you want success with something, there is a formula that you need to use. If you don't use that formula, you will never get the result. Ever make an attempt to log on to your computer, log on your password, and you are 1 digit off, you are off by a space, but you move the cursor 1 slot too far. It doesn't say, you know what, Lantam, you got close. So let's give you a break and log you in this time. It rejects you. because it's a precision science. We are in a world of precision processes. You cannot just make things up and think that by virtue of effort and will, determination, you will get it right. If the formula is wrong, you will get a wrong result a million times. These guys, they do not have the mental capacity to fix our problems. It doesn't take 8 years to fix Galamsey. I will fix Galamsey in 1 month.
How would you do that? And that's what I really also wanted to come to. So how would you do that?
It's so simple.
If you're given the mandate.
Simple. Okay, first of all, what is the main ingredient in Galamsey? Shangfeng, or whatever you call it, the earth-moving equipment.
Yeah,
right?
They have the Shangfang machines. They have the excavators. And
excavator, all
of that
the
stuff.
huge earth-moving machines.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you this. Do we make them in Ghana?
No.
We have to import them. So now when we import it, does it fly in at night and just happen to be in the forest, or it comes in through a port? Simple question.
I mean, I would say excavators, you can't really stop excavators from coming in, because apart from the Galamsey menace that it's being used for, there are other uses for excavators.
But let's just start with
the Shangfang machines, there are,
okay, so
all the parts that are imported in, and then they assemble
we'll get to that. But
and all of that.
I just want you to work with me here.
Okay.
Do these machines come in through the port? Okay. So it's got to be Takrady or it's got to be Tema.
Yeah.
Who controls that, please? Oh, no trick questions from me today. No trick questions. Who controls the ports? Your people, right?
Which people?
Your government.
It's your government too.
I'm glad you're
Our
saying
government.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
They control. So that's an affirmation.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that was a trick question. So you got right into it. But so we accept that the government controls the ports. Now, if you control the port and somebody is bringing in a machine and you don't know what they're going to use the machine for, wouldn't it be prudent to at least find out where the machine is going? And if you were not sure, you have to tag the machine by putting a device on it that tells you real time what the machine is doing, how it's moving, how much dirt it's collecting, how long the engine stays on for. You see that real time on a screen. A simple device could give you all of that. Why are these machines not tagged?
So you're talking about tagging the excavators that come in to make sure that they are not being used for Galamsey.
Listen, in New York, we put a device on a car. It tells me, if I want to report, how fast the car is going, where the car is in the whole of the U.S. It tells me if the brakes are worn. It tells me if the car goes through a red light. It tells me if it's going over the speed limit in a speed zone. It gives me all these specs. It actually tells me if the driver is wavering on the road, sleepy. It tells me real time on a screen. You can't have that device on a truck. And you know how much it costs? Less than $1,000. And $1,000, the government doesn't have to pay. You pass the cost on to whoever is shipping in the Galamsey. Hey, if you don't put this tag on your machine, you can't clear it. How simple is that?
So that the government monitors the usage of the machine.
Simple.
So that it's not used for Galamsey.
Simple.
That's how you will solve Galamsey?
First of all, okay, so because we have decimated our lands, when I am president today, Galamsey stops today. Why the need for Galamsey? Money? If it's money, we have other sources of money.
I mean, we agree that Galamsey needs to stop, and you've talked about stopping it, and you've talked about putting tags on excavators.
On every machine that comes in, we tag it.
So
at the cost to the people.
And that you believe will stop Galamsey altogether?
No, there won't be Galamsey, first of all. Because let me tell you
So how would you stop? Because now the Galamsey is going on.
Things.
And it's not just the excavators that are used for Galamsey. I mean, there are other things that are used for Galamsey.
Work with me here.
Yeah,
So
I just want to know your holistic plan
Excellent.
on dealing with Galamsey?
Well, I just want to make it very clear to the whole of Ghana that with Kofi Koranteng, Galamsey stops today.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse to go into Galamsey. But now let me go back and tell you.
But the people need to know how you would do it. Yeah.
So first of all, the reason why people, the young boys and girls are going into Galamsey is because there's a need for a lifestyle. People need to shop. No kufiu na ba ye. You with me? Okay. So if you are going to give them another means for them to eat, meet their needs, they won't go dig burrows in the earth and be crushed on by soft earth. You with me? Okay. So what the government needs to focus on is, how am I going to give alternative means to making income so these people could take care of themselves? Okay. So you have 100 and how many ministers? Okay. So now let me bring you to something.
Well, we used to have 126 or so. Now we have about 80. About
still
86.
Doesn't make sense. Still
about
doesn't
86.
Still doesn't make sense. And let me tell you why it doesn't make sense. This is the only country in the world that pays somebody $1,000 a month and gives them a $160,000 car to drive. You ever thought of that? So if $1,000 a month parliamentarians make, they drive around in $160,000 cars. So now it takes them 12 years, 1 year to pay $12,000. So it would take them more than a year and 15 years to pay for a car.
Yeah.
15 if they were giving all their income to paying for the car, which doesn't happen.
Well, they're giving loans to buy the cars, and the loans are subsidized to a certain
why
level.
Would you
so
give,
they say they have to pay.
Yeah, but why would you give somebody who makes $1,000
they have to pay back for it.
$1,000 a month? Why would you give them a loan to buy a $160,000 car?
Right.
Just doesn't make sense.
Right.
Lantam.
Right.
But my point is, the expense and the liability that comes with having 80 whatever ministers and 275 parliamentarians is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, what's Kofi Koranteng going to do? What's the purpose of a parliamentarian? We don't need 275 parliamentarians. If we had a national development plan for the next 50 years in 4-year timelines, everything the parliamentarians do out there is to represent their constituents and bring whatever the constituents need to Parliament, and they come and they fight for that on behalf of their constituents to get work done there. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm saying is if we have a national development plan entrenched in a constitution, so NDC will not come and change it, MPP will not come and change it, and we go in 50 years this direction. We're going to fix all our roads. We're going to build all our infrastructure, hospitals, schools, tunnels, bridges, everything infrastructure we put in that national development plan. Everything that's a small ticket item in the regions will be taken over by our by the regions at the regional level because of decentralization.
Right.
Local government.
Yeah.
We don't have a problem. All of a sudden, we don't have a need for 275 parliamentarians.
I mean, but there are 275 constituencies, and they all need representation. And so,
for what?
I mean, if we're going to change that, we may have to reduce the number of constituencies.
No. So first of all, you tell me why we need 275 parliamentarians just because we have 275 constituencies.
Because every constituency needs representation.
For what, though?
For the people of the constituency.
To do what?
To make laws.
No, you don't.
To make laws, to scrutinize government contracts, to serve as a check on the executive arm of government. The legislature, we know the function of the legislature.
So everything you've said so far, there is an alternative, much less cheaper way to do it than what you're saying.
So we don't need a parliament, is that what you're saying?
This parliament, we could scrap this parliament, there won't be any difference. This parliament is the most useless parliament in the history of Ghana.
Really?
Oh, it is.
I mean, that's quite strong.
I didn't say
that's
it.
quite strong. Useless parliament?
Oh,
I mean, do you believe that that's a fair That's a fair description.
You know who said that?
Of the parliament.
Kwame Pianim said that.
The parliament that
Kwame Pianim
has
said
given
that.
us,
Kwame Pianim said that.
I mean, since 1992. Since
And I totally agree with him. Kwame Pianim said that, and I totally agree with him. These are not my words. I actually went back to research, and yes, indeed, they're the most useless parliament.
Okay, which parliament exactly are you talking about? Because there have been many.
This current parliament.
This particular one.
Absolutely.
With 137, 137.
What have they done? You couldn't go in the book to tell me now. You tell me you arguing on their behalf. They passed laws. What laws? What laws have they passed?
There are many acts that have been passed. The Affirmative Action Act has been passed. It's been signed by the president into law. There are quite a number of laws that have been passed. That's the work of Parliament, isn't it?
But this is the distillation process should be results. If you're not getting the results to give the people who you are in Parliament to represent the quality of life that they deserve, you are useless.
All right. You're still watching State of Affairs, and we'll have to get back to how you're dealing with the Galamsey issue, because we're not done.
Let's get back to that.
There was a bit of a diversion, but let's remind you that MTN Momo is 15 years, and for 15 good years, Momo has been doing wonderful stuff for Ghanaians in terms of making transactions easy, and that's why the Momo at 15 Rewards is here with amazing cash prizes to say thank you. Send money to an MTN Momo user or make a payment to an MTN Momo merchant number at no cost whatsoever. Only on MTN. Download the My Momo app on your phone. Keep transacting and win some cash. There is more than 450,000 Ghana cedis, which is up for grabs for 165 lucky winners, and you can be one of them. So just Momo it everywhere you go. The offer is running from now till November. Do remember that terms and conditions apply. MTN is everywhere you go. My guest in the studio this evening on State of Affairs is Kofi Koranteng. He's an independent presidential candidate. His name is on the ballot. He's number 10 on the ballot, and he's been telling us some of the things that he would do if he gets the opportunity to become president. That is, if you vote for him. There's more when we return from this break. You're welcome back to State of Affairs here on GHOne Television, and my guest in the studio this evening is Kofi Koranteng, number 10 on the ballot for the 2024 elections, which is coming up on the 7th of December. He's an independent presidential candidate. and we've been having a conversation about some of the things that he believes he will do for this country that will make this country better off if we break the duopoly and make him the president of the country. We've been having a conversation about Galamsey, and you've been talking about some of the things that you're going to do. First of all, you talked about tagging excavators and other earth-moving equipment that comes into the country to monitor what it's used for, and you talked about providing alternate sources of livelihood for the people who are involved, in Galamsey. There are some people who have argued that with what some of these individuals who are involved in Galamsey are getting from Galamsey, it's not a matter of getting them something to do which gives them the minimum wage, because then they become used to a certain lifestyle. So when you talk about providing alternative sources of livelihood, what kind of alternative sources of livelihood are you talking about?
All right. So the first thing, Lantam, is, people default to, there are no jobs in Ghana. So the only jobs here are security jobs, 400 cedis a month, 600 cedis a month. It doesn't give a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, and this is where we go to, if we want to solve this problem from the root cause, then there are a couple of things we need to accept. Competency levels of Ghanaian workers are very low. Major problem. Mm-hmm. So when, President Mahama comes and says, we're going to do 24-hour economy, it's a ridiculous statement where he obviously doesn't know how a 24-hour economy is constructed, because bear with me. No. Listen to me.
The NDC's 24-hour economy policy is ridiculous, is what you're saying.
Okay. So if I came to you and I said, Lantam, I'm going to make jollof rice, and everybody's excited in the house, you don't have rice. How are you going to make jollof? You don't have rice. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So why do I say that? Now I'll come back to it. So I'll come back to it, but let me just finish with this. So the competency levels, I was talking about the competency levels. If this is what you need to understand. Every economy has a workforce. A workforce has got to have something unique about what they do to make money. If the workforce has a high competency level and their competencies are interchangeable, then they can do many things at one time to make money. So when they can leave job A to go to job B, C, and you see what I'm saying? So the probability of them always staying in the job market is high. If you take a regular Ghanaian worker, the competency is low. So now, how do you gauge that? The way you gauge that is, what is it that we make in Ghana that other nations want so much that they cannot do without? Mm-hmm. Can you tell me one thing that Ghana is unique for manufacturing or for creating? One thing. Well,
we've got kente. Off the top of my head, that's one thing I can mention.
No. China makes way more income from kente than Ghana does, because they've monetized it through quantum computing, Internet of Things. You see, we haven't, because our poverty gap is our technology gap. It's because we don't have technology. That's why we have so much poverty, and that's why I talk about competencies. So if you go to Switzerland, you have chocolates.
Yeah. You
have timepieces, not watches. The same thing America calls Timex. You go to Switzerland is a Rolex. And the difference, one is $150,000, one is $150. Big difference. You go to France, you have Champagne, you have Audemars. You have Clive Clicquot, you have Dom Perignon in champagnes. You go to California, there are champagnes, but it's not a French champagne. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So every nation has a destination ownership to a product that makes them unique. Mm-hmm. What is Ghana's? And don't say kente, because somebody's making more money arm over fist in kente than we are. So we don't have anything. And you know why? It's because we don't have the competencies. Let me prove it to you. In 2022, Ghana imported things from 108 countries. Now, when we import something from a country, that means, Lantam, that we don't have the competency to make that thing, so we have to import it from somewhere. In 2023, we went from 108 to 114. A friend of mine calls me and says, Kofi, I think you are wrong there, because there are only, I think, what he said, 109 countries in the world. So it can be 114. Well, the sad reality is we import so much from entities who are not even considered countries by the United Nations specification of what a country is. That's how bad it is. And what that means, everything we go outside of this country to go and import, we don't have a competency for. And it's not one thing per country. It's a multitude of things per country.
So are you talking about building competencies in those areas?
I'm talking
and
about
getting the youth to get into those areas.
Because if you have competencies in those areas, then we will be manufacturing it, so the jobs will be created, and it will not just be $600 CD a month jobs. It would be 3,000, 4,000.
So what are the timelines you're looking at for that? Because we're looking at Galamsey to stop now.
Okay.
And what you're talking about in terms of providing alternative sources of livelihood is going to take some time.
So you don't start.
It's not going to take.
So you don't start.
Yeah, you start. But immediately, you need to be able to do something.
Absolutely.
That will keep the people engaged.
The monies that is going
occupied.
to.
So
okay.
how are you going to do that? Because we're looking at stopping Galamsey now. If those who do not have the jobs and all of that do not get something to do, how will they want to stop the Galamsey?
All the monies that are unnecessarily being spent on the ministers and parliamentarians are going to be repositioned temporarily to these places till we get their competencies up, and we develop agriculture, skill set in agriculture to move them. See, what is going to save Ghana, as I've always said, is for us to go into agriculture big time. So Kofi Koranteng is planning on investing $10 billion a year for the next 10 years into drone-controlled mechanized farming. Now, agriculture is a big sector, and it has a multitude of semi-sectors that we're going to go into, like, pharmaceuticals, research and development, real estate, financial services, freight, food preservation. And so we are going to be able to absorb hundreds of thousands of jobs, unemployment from the street, and move people up from low income levels to high income levels by virtue of investing in our agro-based industries.
So you talk about $10 billion every year for
the next 10 years.
Where will you get the money from?
How much money do
Because if you look at our budgetary allocation, is it up to $10 billion?
Okay,
so where are we getting the money from? We're paying off loans. We're in a precarious situation, with regard to economy. Economists are talking about our economy even beginning to recover. Let's say 10, 15 years from now is when our economy will recover quickly. We are neck deep in debt that we'll have to pay off. There are salaries of government workers that need to be paid, etc., etc., and very little left for capital expenditure.
Okay.
So where would you get $10 billion to invest every year?
Simple. First thing, how much money is the Accountant General telling us we're losing to corruption every year? 3 to 4 billion. So you got your 3 billion right there on the low side.
That's cities. That's in cities. 3 billion cities.
No.
Lost to corruption.
No.
According to the reports we have, that's in cities.
That's in dollars.
No, that's in cities.
Lantam, I know my numbers. It's dollars.
Because the last I checked, when you look at the SHRAJ report, the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, their report for the year 2021, for example, they tell us that the amount of money we're losing to corruption annually is 5 billion cedis.
No, it's not.
According to the reports that I have
$3 to
here.
$4 billion dollars.
Well, according to the report I have, it's in cedis.
Check again.
It's in
I
cedis.
bet you $1 million you would find out it's 3 to 4 billion. It's been like that for a couple of years. So that's okay. So the next thing, how much money is going to one district, one factory, FDIs, to reposition them, tax rebates to all these, do you know, is close to $7 billion. How many people do not pay taxes in Ghana? Do you know? Let me give you the numbers. 80% of all our employment comes from the micro, small, and medium enterprises. 90% of that comes from the informal sector. So the money they make don't see taxes. Any smart government first objective is to do what we call an integrated national ID and address system so that every Ghanaian will be identified, and then transition people from the informal to the formal sector.
Is that what the vice president has been trying to do when he's preaching digitalization, everybody getting a digital address, being able to identify people? Because when you look at the MPP's manifesto, you know, and what the vice president has been saying, he talks about digitalization is going to enable us to open the tax net, because then a lot more people will be easily identifiable, their income levels are identifiable, and then we can rake in the revenue. So widening the tax net, essentially what you're saying, is what some of these other parties say they are going to do.
You can't digitalize in a vacuum. You have to actually have something, and then you digitalize.
Right.
What he's saying is a concept without the goods.
Well, he's saying he's doing it now.
Have we seen the results?
Well, we have Ghana Post GPS. And we have the Ghana card.
It doesn't work.
We have the Ghana card.
Listen, there are Nigerians at 37 who have Ghana cards.
Yeah.
And you can buy a Ghana card.
Well, there are Ghana cards for foreigners as well. So.
No, I'm talking the illegal type. They sell them. So what? Of course. So what I'm saying is you want a Ghana card that is authentic, and you want it to be integrated with all the systems so that whatever transaction, when you travel around the world, you go to China, you go to Dubai, you go to Shanghai, everywhere you go around the world, Japan, Germany, every transaction you make as a foreigner, they get a piece of the action. Why? It's because the moment you get into the country with your passport, they will identify you and track you. Is that what we see here? No. You have foreigners who are pouring in, making all these transactions, and we cannot keep a tab on them. Do we know how many foreigners live in Ghana? How many even Nigerians live in Nigeria? They have totally bastardized the renting system in Nigeria because they pay more and disposition all the Ghanaians. You think the government knows about this? They don't. That's why housing is a big problem in Ghana.
Right.
So what I'm saying is the first step, Lantam, is you need to, it's not just digitization. When you digitalize it, first of all, it's outdated. We're in quantum computing, Internet of Things. There are so many other technologies that we need to get into. Digitization is off the past. Virtual reality and all these good things we need to talk about and see how that affects our life. And that's why that's why Mahama comes and talks about 24-hour economy. You don't have the foundation for a 24-hour economy if you don't have these three things, which are competencies, and complexities and connectivity. You cannot have a 24-hour economy. How do you do a 24-hour economy without connectivity?
So the explanations that have been given by the NDC about how the 24-hour economy is going to work.
I've lived in a 24-hour economy.
It doesn't make sense to you.
No, it doesn't.
Is what you're saying.
It's not possible. I've lived in a 24-hour economy. I've traveled to every country that has an economy worth talking about in the world. I have. And I've seen how the economies work. You can't just get up and say an economy is a synergistic array of companies and businesses working in an orchestra. You can have a computer here, I could have a computer here, but that doesn't mean we have a network. A network is if we're communicating, everybody knows what everybody else is doing. So that's what a 24-hour economy is. You can't use trotro to do a 24-hour economy. When by 10 o'clock, all the mates, no pun intended, the mates, they all go to sleep by 10 o'clock. How are you going to have a 24-hour economy? You're going to provide, his explanation is you're going to provide security people to do what?
Yeah.
What kind of lame thing is that? You don't...
I mean, obviously people are working in the night. I mean, they'll need
it doesn't make any
security,
kind of sense. That what you do is, if I came to you, are you married? You married?
No.
Okay, good. Stay unmarried for a while. But if I came to your house and I said to you and your wife, Lantam, this is what I want you to do. As a government, I want you to have more babies. Your wife will probably give me a backhand and say, get out of here. Right? Why? Is because there is an expense and a liability that comes from having children. So if you have, as China is doing now, if your population numbers are down and if you want to up the population numbers, what you do is you incent. The way you do it is maybe a school program, a kindergarten, it's free, you're going to pay some amount, supplement college. You're going to do things to ease the burden on people. And then people say, oh, well, now if I were to have a child, it's not going to be that expensive, so maybe it's worth my while to have one more child. That's how you do it. But you cannot legislate somebody to have more children. That's not how you do it. So the way you do a 24-hour economy is to make financing available and competitive. It's financing readily available. You know how expensive money is in Ghana? 29% if you ever were to pick up a loan. Now, your people who are competing in the same space are getting 3% loan. They're coming in with 3% loans. You start at 29 and we want you to start a 24-hour economy? I mean, really? How is that going to... No, tell me. The basis for an economy, you need cash. For entrepreneurs to start building stuff, creating stuff, they need cash. If you're borrowing at 29%, how do you build the economy? You can't.
So what will Kofi Koranteng do as president?
That's the big question. And this is why I'm telling you first. The three things we need to get in place. Connectivity, competencies, and then complexities. But before we do that, we need to first invest in our agro-based industries, get an output from agriculture, put it in the industry, what that's called the horizontal integrations, start adding value to everything we're producing. Nothing leaves Ghana without a value add. We have to attain the highest value add to everything we do before it leaves our shores, so we could get the maximum dollars from it. Now, once we get the maximum dollars, this is what we do. Three things. You pay down our debt, $740 billion. It needs to go down or China will come and take our country, number one. Number two, you increase the industry base, the horizontal integrations that I talked about. And then you go into more domestic stuff. And then number three, the balance of it you put in our central bank so that if we have to go out to the commodities market to buy something, we have a foreign exchange reserve. You don't go and liquidate the forex on the streets with our cities and tank the rate of the city. That's why the city is at 16 to the dollar.
All right, we'll talk a bit more about this and the vision that you have for the country and what you want to do as president. Right after we return from this break, still reminding you that MTN Momo is 15 years, and that's why the Momo at 15 Rewards is here with amazing cash prizes to say thank you. Send money to any MTN Momo user or make payments to an MTN Momo merchant number at no cost whatsoever, only on MTN. Download the My Momo app on your phone, keep transacting, and win some cash. There is up to 450,000 Ghana cedis, which is up for grabs, for 165 lucky winners. And you too can be one of them. So just Momo it everywhere you go. This offer runs from now till November. Remember, the terms and conditions apply. MTN is everywhere you go. This is State of Affairs. My guest in the studio is Kofi Koranteng, independent presidential candidate. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. And my guest in the studio this evening on State of Affairs is number 10 on the presidential ballot when you go to vote this December. And you are given your ballot paper for you to put your thumbprint by the picture. When you go down to number 10, you'll see Kofi Koranteng's picture there. He is an independent presidential candidate. And he's been telling us what he wants to do for this country if he becomes president. And so you were getting into it. You were talking about helping us get out of the debt.
Yeah.
You know, for example, it's 750 million. Billion.
Yeah.
That's how much debt we are in.
It's actually more than that. Because this is as of close of the last time
we checked, right? And we did a domestic debt exchange program because we're in crisis.
Means nothing.
Right? So when you look at where we are as a country, we're in a very precarious situation, and we will...
Worse than precarious.
Yes, we will have to quickly pay off our debts.
With what?
Or bring our debts down to a certain level before we're able to properly... This is according to economists, before we're able to, make proper investments into the country and build in the country and all of that. So what's the plan for clearing the debt?
It's so simple.
What's your plan for clearing the debt?
Lantam, when I sit down and look at this country and look at these bunch of leaders, or bunch of people they call themselves leaders, it's painful. Because you see, everything we want to do has been done by other economies. The facts don't lie. Now, you can have an opinion, but then there are facts. I'm not a genius by any means. I'm not a genius. I just go by what has worked. I'm telling you, it's that simple. Lantam, please work with me here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, we have an abundance of arable lands. We have rain to the extent that it drowns us, it kills us, it creates havoc. That's how much rain we have. We don't have the mental capacity to put in reservoirs to hold the water and use it at will. We don't. We allow for the water to come down on the Voltarians, poor Voltarians. We unleash water onto them and it decimates them. And then we go to them and say, vote for us, we're going to make your lives better. For 32 years, we've ignored them. But now listen to this. We have an abundance of sunlight. We have rain. We have arable lands. The soil is mineralized. You plant, you cultivate the land, you plant something. Plant something. Plant something. Even if we said the national policy is about planting, growing cassava. Cassava has a 6-month cycle. Mm-hmm. In the same year that we do cocoa, 3 years, the accelerated version of cocoa, we have an accelerated version cocoa which is 3 years, and the non-accelerated one which is 4 or 5 years. So the accelerated one goes 3 years before it matures. So if we planted cassava, we would have 6 cycles of cassava harvest in one harvest of cocoa. Everywhere you put cassava, you don't even need to maintain it. So long as it's getting some sunlight, it's getting some decent amount of water, it grows. We can use the cassava, extract it, get sorbitol out of it. Mm-hmm. We could get starch, which we could use it for the binding agent of pharmaceuticals, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. We could make a lot of condiments from cassava, all the soups and mm-hmm. Ingredients, condiments in the West, starch-based.
We could get that from cassava.
We could get.
We've tried that before. I think President Kufuor, under his presidency,
no, we didn't. We attempted
had a president's special initiative.
But they come up with all these social interventions and all these glamours.
And all of that.
They don't stick to it. Mm. They don't stick to it. So if we did that with only cassava, we could plant enough cassava to have more than enough foreign exchange reserves to pay our debt. Cassava.
So you help us get out of our debt as a country by planting
cassava. Easy.
And adding value to cassava.
We're gonna leave the land alone to heal. Ghana. We're not touching gold, we're not touching oil.
No gold mining.
No. I'm sorry, but we're not.
There are already big, large-scale mining companies, the AngloGold, the Shanties, and the Newmonts.
Well,
listen. Are you saying that you're going to stop all of them from mining? Is that what
the
you're saying?
land belongs to the chiefs. Mm-hmm. The chiefs will make the decision mm-hmm. at the right time. We cannot touch the land that feeds us. It just doesn't make any kind of sense.
Yeah, but just to be clear, when you say we'll stop mining, are you talking about small-scale mining, or are you talking about all kinds of mining?
We want the land to heal.
So all kinds of mining.
If you are on the if you're mining because of income, we will show you another way for you to make your income. Mm. And that's why you do know that some of these large mining companies, have got legal contracts with the government. We do. Legal concessions with the government. That's why when we sit down, we do know that gold is also, I think, the largest foreign exchange earner for us here in this country, and we are like the second biggest exporter of gold to the world. We are the number 1 gold producer for Africa and number 6 in the world.
Yeah.
You see, did you walk down?
So if we stop mining, large-scale mining, where does that leave us as a country?
It doesn't leave us anywhere because we don't get anything from it. Just because you're an exporter of something doesn't mean you get the benefits of that thing.
Right.
Go to Dubai. Do they plant gold? It's almost like gold is on the floor in Dubai because they expand, they exhaust the spectrum of value of the gold. Do we? I guess, why not?
All right. We have just about 3 minutes to wrap up. So here's a camera, Kofi Koranteng. I want you to tell the people of Ghana.
Thank you.
Why they should vote for you.
Ghana. My country and I'm a cover for. Ghana for. Seriously. We are at the point where we are all an endangered species. The governments of NDC and NPP have played games with our minds for the last 32 years. We've come to a point where we have an option. Just by the thumb alone, we could change our destinies for the next generations who are on their way coming. Let us do something special. Let us do something different in December 7th, 2024. We deserve better. The levels of degradation has affected every fiber of our lives. And now it's gone to a point where, whether you like it or not, you're going to be taken down by the tsunami of Galamsey. These criminal entities of NDC and NPP have caused us this pain, and they continue to cause us this pain, and they will play games with your mind to make you think they're going to do something better when they come in 2024. They are not going to do anything better. So I'm asking you to come with me. Those of us who are watching from all over the world and those of us who are in Ghana, vote for Kofi Koranteng confidently. I love this country. My party is Ghana. Come with us. Let us change Ghana. Let us be respected for once. The whole world has come to Ghana to take a piece of Ghana with them, except for the Ghanaians. Ghana is being sold. Everywhere you go, they're barricading places, selling to some foreigners. I am sick and tired of that. So please come with us. Help us. Join us. KofiKoranteng.com 0505-124-109.
All right.
Thank you so much, Ghana.
Well,
God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Thank you too, Kofi Koranteng. And before we go, reminding you once again that MTN is everywhere you go. Momo is 15 years. There are a lot of amazing prizes to commemorate Momo at 15, which is up for grabs. Up to 450,000 Ghana cedis in cash. 450,000 Ghana cedis in cash. Up for grabs, 465 lucky winners. So you can be one of them. So keep on transacting. Send Momo to a merchant, to a Momo user. And it's for free. From now till November, MTN is everywhere you go. Do remember that terms and conditions apply. Kofi Koranteng, thank you very much for joining us here in the studio.
Lantam, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And we wish you all the best.
Vote for me
in your campaign.
I want you to vote for me. Okay, Lantam is voting. He's voting for me.
No, I have not. I have not decided who I want to vote for.
You have decided. He has
not decided who I want to vote for.
He told me during the break, so
that is not true. But you can put out the number again. You said KofiKoranteng.com.
Yes, KofiKoranteng.com. And if you want to help us with our Momo, is 059-999-5120. 059-999-5120. Thank you so much, Lion.
Thank you also. Kofi Koranteng has been my guest, number 10 on the ballot for 2024. This has been State of Affairs. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Lantam Papanko. Enjoy the rest of your evening.